The Art of War is not simply a book about fighting. It is a beautiful and timeless guide to understanding human nature, managing conflict, and achieving success in any area of life. It teaches us that the greatest victory is not found on the battlefield, but in the mind. The true genius of a leader is in their ability to win without ever having to draw a sword. It is a philosophy that sees conflict as a last resort and wisdom as the ultimate weapon. It tells us that by understanding ourselves and the world around us, we can navigate any challenge with grace and skill, just as a calm river flows around a stone. It is a book about strategy, but it is also a book about peace, showing us how to resolve problems by using our minds instead of our fists. The words of Sun Tzu are like a quiet, clear voice in the chaos, reminding us that with a good plan and a calm heart, we can overcome any obstacle that stands in our way. The book begins by teaching us to think deeply before we ever start. The first and most important chapter is about laying plans. Sun Tzu tells us there are 5 key things we must always consider. The first is called the moral law. This is about making sure your people believe in the same goals as you. If everyone trusts their leader and is willing to follow them, you're already halfway to winning. The second thing is heaven, which means the weather and the seasons. You have to know when it's hot and when it's cold, and use the seasons to your advantage. The third is earth, which is the land itself. You must know the terrain, whether it has high hills or low valleys, whether it is wide open or narrow and winding. This knowledge is like having a secret map. The fourth is the commander, which is you, the leader. You must be wise, trustworthy, caring, brave, and strict. Your team must know they can rely on you completely. Finally, there is method, which means how everything is organized. It's about having a clear chain of command and making sure your team is well trained. By thinking about these 5 things before you even begin, you can figure out your chances of success. A wise leader calculates everything and only moves when they are certain of victory. The second chapter talks about the cost of war. Sun Tzu says that a long war is never a good thing. It drains a country's money and a leader's energy. When you are fighting for a long time, the soldiers get tired, and the people at home start to lose their trust. He explains that you must be fast and decisive. The goal is to finish the conflict quickly, not to make it last forever. He says that if you are forced to fight, you should try to take what you need from the enemy instead of bringing everything with you. This saves a lot of money and resources. The core lesson here is that you should always aim to win fast. A quick victory, even a small one, is always better than a long, drawn-out battle that wears everyone out. He reminds us that war is a very serious matter and should not be taken lightly. It's a last resort, and if you must do it, you must do it with a clear, fast, and efficient plan. The third chapter is one of the most famous parts of the book, about attacking by stratagem. This is where Sun Tzu's true wisdom shines. He says the greatest skill is to win without fighting at all. The very best way to win is to stop the enemy's plan before they can even start it. The next best way is to stop them from working with their friends and allies. Only after that you should try to break up their army. The very worst thing you can do is to fight an enemy in a walled city. It costs too much and takes too long. Sun Tzu says that a good leader knows when to fight and when not to fight. They know how to use both small and large forces. They know that if their team is united, they are strong. Most importantly, he says, know your enemy and know yourself, and you will not be defeated in 100 battles. This single idea is the heart of the whole book. If you understand what you are capable of and what your opponent is capable of, you will always be one step ahead. The fourth chapter is about tactical dispositions, which means being prepared. Sun Tzu tells us that a wise leader first makes sure they cannot be defeated. This is about defense. When you are on defense, you should hide and be so strong that the enemy can't even find a weak spot. Once you are safe, then you can start to think about attacking. He says that you should only attack when you are absolutely sure of winning. A smart leader doesn't just win a victory. They win a victory that is so clear, so easy, that everyone can see it coming. He says that the best leaders win their battles before they even begin. This is like a great chess player who sees the end of the game from the very first move. It is about careful planning and preparing so that when the time comes to act, the victory is almost a foregone conclusion. The fifth chapter, called Energy, is about using different forces to your advantage. Sun Tzu explains that there are two kinds of forces: the regular force and the unusual force. The regular force is the main plan, the main army, the direct attack. The unusual force is the surprise attack, the trick, the unexpected move. He says that a good leader knows how to mix these two together. You use the regular force to get the enemy's attention, and then you use the unusual force to surprise them and win. He compares this to a fast-moving river that can move stones and logs. It's about building up power and momentum and then releasing it at just the right moment. The key is to be creative and to always have a new trick up your sleeve. By combining the expected with the unexpected, you can create a feeling of constant pressure on your opponent. The sixth chapter is about finding weak points and strong points. Sun Tzu teaches that to win, you must make the enemy do what you want them to do. You must make them come to you, so you can fight them on your own terms. He says to find a place where the enemy is weak and attack there. At the same time, you must be so strong and so well hidden that the enemy cannot find a place to attack you. The most important lesson here is that you should be formless. This means that your plan should be so secret and so flexible that the enemy cannot see what you are going to do. If you have no visible form, no one can see your weak points. He says that a leader who knows how to be formless is like a bird that flies so high that no one can shoot it down. Chapter 7 is about maneuvering. This is about the dangers of moving a large group of people. Sun Tzu warns that a long march can be very difficult. It can tire out your team and make them lose their focus. He says that you must be careful and fast. He talks about the need for clear communication, using flags and drums to send signals to everyone so they can all act as one. He also warns about the dangers of fighting with an army that is tired and has a long way to go. He tells us to avoid fighting with an enemy that is on a high hill or has their back to a river. These are all practical lessons about how to manage a team on the move and how to pick the right time and place to act. In Chapter 8, Sun Tzu talks about the importance of being flexible and adaptable. He says that a leader must be willing to change their plans and not be too rigid. He gives examples of 5 dangerous faults in a commander, such as being too reckless and dying easily, or being too kind and worrying about your team so much that you can't make tough decisions. He says that a good leader knows that there are some roads you should not travel and some enemies you should not fight. You must understand the situation and be able to make a new plan in a moment's notice. He teaches that a plan is just a starting point, and you must be ready to change it at any time. Chapter 9 is very practical and gives advice on how to camp and observe the enemy. Sun Tzu tells us how to read the signs in nature. He says if birds are flying away, it means the enemy is hiding nearby. If an enemy's army is talking a lot and not standing still, it means they are tired. If they pretend to retreat, it is a trick. He gives us many small details to look for that can tell you a lot about the enemy's state of mind and their plans. He emphasizes that a good leader is always watching, always listening, and always thinking about what the signs mean. It is like a detective solving a mystery. By paying attention to the small details, you can uncover the whole story. The 10th chapter is about terrain. Sun Tzu identifies 6 different types of land and how to handle each one. There is open ground, where it is easy to move and spread out. There is tricky ground, which is hard to get to and hard to leave. There is in-between ground, where both sides can get to it easily, so the first one to get there has the advantage. There are narrow passages and steep hills that you can use to your advantage. He also talks about the importance of knowing when to fight and when to stay put, depending on the land. He says that understanding the land is one of the most important things for a leader, and a leader who doesn't know the land is destined to fail. Chapter 11 is a long and very important chapter that discusses the 9 different kinds of battlefield situations. He explains 9 types of ground, from dispersive ground, which is your home territory, where people are likely to scatter, to death ground, which is a place where you have no choice but to fight and win. He says that in each type of ground, you must use a different strategy. For example, on dispersive ground, you must unify your team's spirit. On death ground, You must fight with everything you have because there is no way to retreat. He teaches that a good leader knows all 9 situations and knows exactly what to do in each one. This shows us that every problem, every challenge, has its own unique solution, and you must know them all to be a true master. Chapter 12 talks about using fire as a weapon. Sun Tzu describes 5 ways to attack with fire: burning soldiers, burning supplies, burning equipment, burning supplies, and burning the army itself. He gives us very specific rules for using fire, such as making sure the wind is blowing in the right direction. He reminds us that fire is very powerful and dangerous and should only be used when the time is right. The key lesson here is not just about fire, but about using any powerful tool correctly. It's about waiting for the perfect moment and being careful so you don't hurt yourself in the process. He tells us that a leader who acts without careful thought is foolish, and a leader who acts at the right time is wise. Finally, the last chapter is about the use of spies. Sun Tzu says that using spies is the most important part of winning. He says that a leader must be very wise and clever to use spies correctly. He describes 5 types of spies: local spies, who are locals from the enemy's side; inside spies, who are enemy officials you turn to your side; turned spies, who are your own spies that you turn into double agents; dead spies, who are given false information to give to the enemy; and living spies, who come back with information. He says that of all these, the most important are the living spies, the ones who bring back real information. He stresses that you must spend a lot of money on spies because the information they give you is worth more than all the gold in the world. He reminds us that winning is about being smart and knowing secrets, and the best way to do that is with spies. It is a powerful final lesson that shows us that knowledge is the ultimate power in any conflict.